that this series on the law of assumption has been a wonderful experience, hasn't it?
Yes.
And we covered 4 lessons. We started off with the topic in the lesson, why prayer fails. Right? Why prayer fails. And then that was followed by developing more and more of this wonderful vision that Neville shared with us in talking about the vision that he had, where grandfather was involved, and grandfather shared his secret of success as a realtor, as a builder in early New York City. And he talked about how it was that he stood in front of this empty lot. That was his practice. That was his spiritual practice. And he said that he had a vivid imagination. And he was talking about the creative power of imagination. And that is our template. That's our model. That's our example that we're using in this series to practice this that is given to us in Scripture, where it says, whatsoever things you desire when you pray, believe that you receive it, and you shall have it. That's all that is doing right there. That this story here, this illustration, this parable, this example, helps us to practice that Scripture, helps us to bring whatever it is, your desire, your need, the answer to a problem, bring it forth. This little story, this illustration helps you to be able to do that. He said that he would have a vivid imagination of the building that he wanted, that he desired. He saw it. He saw it in real time. He saw it as a right now experience. And because he saw it, then it was already finished, it was already established, and he walked away. In the realization that it was already done, he walked away in the naturalness of it. Already done. Am I right?
Yes.
Are you putting your desire in that place right now, your healing need, whatever it is that you're aspiring to, whatever goal you're trying to achieve, whatever answer it is that you need a one in your life, you're standing in front of that empty lot. But you're seeing the building already there. And you're walking in it, and you're up on whatever floor it is, and you're looking out the windows, and you see a view, and you're sensing yourself going up and down the elevators. You're inviting people in and taking them on a tour. It's already finished. Neville says, feeling is the secret. This story helps us to learn how to get into the feeling of the thing fulfilled. We spent 4 weeks. But in the first week, Neville tells you why it isn't so. Why your answer is not here. Why you don't see it. Why you're not walking in that building. Why you're not paying your taxes on it right now. How come? Because you haven't applied. You haven't gotten fully into the application and of the law of assumption. You haven't gotten into it. You haven't assumed it. The law of assumption is our thesis, is our thing, is the overall thing. Why prayer fails was number 1, so he gave you the answer. And so, lesson number 2, step number 2, the next week our topic was,
I remember.
yeah, I remember when is good, help you. So let me give you a little bit more of the story. He stood in front of the lot, and his affirmation was, I remember when this was an empty lot. So that's our umbrella there. I remember when is when we started developing more And week number 2, the topic was the empty lot. We spent time on the empty lot for you to understand what the empty lot was. The empty lot is your desire. The empty lot. So we are extrapolating from that a method, a strategy, a model to build our prayer on or by. That's why you have the pass out. Would you look at your pass out for today? And it's in 3 parts, right? And so, in developing a prayer guide, if you want to write out a prayer following this illustration, we broke it down into 3 parts. The first part would be the empty lot. The second part, and now. The third part, I was. Topic number 2 was, week number 2 was empty lot. Week number 3, our topic was, and now. And week number 4, which was last week, our topic was, I was. Are you following? So we're teaching you how to write your prayer based on I remember when. And we're getting into the law of assumption. You understand that? We're getting into the law of assumption. And these steps are just steps. So when you write your prayer, on the empty lot it says, describe the problem, the need, the sickness, the concern, etc. Or whatever you're aspiring towards, what you want to build, attract, or whatever. But that's the problem as it exists now. The empty lot. There's nothing on that lot, so you got a problem, right? There's nothing on that lot. And then the third part. Remember, he said, I was standing in front of this empty. I stand in front of the empty lot. That's my practice. That's what Grandfather said. He created in his mind what he wanted to be on that lot. So this is what you're doing. You're creating what in your mind, in your imagination. Now, when he walked away from that empty lot, going about his business, that's what he was doing. Go on about his business and leave God's business alone. Now God knows, this is divine intelligence, knows how to fulfill your desire. We are to take no consideration of what is going to take, how it's going to happen. You take in consideration no precedent. We need to hang out on this word. You know what precedent means? Somebody tell me. Just shout it out. One person. A previous occurrence. Something that has been done before. And something that has been done before this way.
In a particular way.
In a particular way. God sets precedences. God is a God of precedence. But we got to get precedent out of our mind. God's ways are beyond. God can't grow cartilage. Well, I never saw it done before. That's what precedence is. First time it's done. That you know about. God looks for minds that believes in unprecedented miracles. Amen. Just so they can go tell the story. God likes people to brag on him. On it. Show forth his glory and his power. Got an ego problem, I guess. likes attention and recognition, bragging on it and stuff. So I just go on and do it. Because the more I brag on it and talk about it, and, you know, the more stuff happens. I'm an advertiser for him, for it. I work on the multi-level marketing plan with God. I keep bringing folks to it. The more I bring, he keeps giving back. I keep going higher and higher and higher on the pyramid. Oh yeah. So then you go to the part, I was. So the first part, I remember that's your desire, that's the problem, that's what you're working toward. But you got to get into the and now, change of consciousness. And now I'm into the realization of the thing. And now that I am, and it's already happened, at some point you shift to the I was phase of consciousness and way of thinking and way of talking and way of thinking, the way of believing. I was. And don't you know with your desire right now, you know that that's where you were. I was thinking that way. I was walking around with pain. I was. I couldn't run. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do the things that I used to do. That's testimony. That's what you're going to say when you're walking into that healing, when you're driving that car, when you're in that house, when you're working with this healed relationship. I was. But now, this is in the I was. But now I have taken control of this matter. But now I have taken control of this matter. But now that I have taken control of this matter, I am no longer without hope. I was in that state of mind. You're not in that state of mind anymore. But now I see myself as God sees me. But now I see myself as God sees me. How does God see me now? God sees me now walking, skipping, jumping, running in this new state of being, problem-free in my need. Thank you, Father. And so it is. So then what happens is that day by day, week by week, you rewrite this according to how you're seeing now. This is not something that you're going to write and read every day. No, something is changing. This should be changing. Your dialogue should be changing. And now you get the feeling that you're capturing what God is saying through you right there in these three places. Because it's evolving and it's changing. And then maybe through the day, read that back to yourself. Repeat that back to yourself. This should change day by day. Because you're staying in the I remember when, the and now, and I was. Right? Go ahead.
Could this be with somebody else as, but this is like something that has to be, we do in life. I remember I wasn't allowed to see my granddaughter and being able to see her now, so I can, because that would require a change on the behavior of the child's mother to allow her to see and have communication with him. So I can do this even with somebody else to affect change.
So can I do this and then expect that it affects a change in somebody else's mind, relationship, whatever? The answer is that you can do anything. You can do anything.
Okay, I didn't know for the assignment if you wanted us to be dealing with something that was personally, physically, or a challenge in our lives that was
No, I need to work with that. So now that you've said it, you've thought about it, restate what you're saying. Just start from the beginning.
Okay. For the assignment, I was thinking it said describe the problem, needs, sickness, concern, because I've had similar situations with knees and other health challenges, and I didn't know whether to do it for the growth work, for something of that nature, or to do something that would be affecting somebody else and requiring their change in their behavior, seeing their change in their behavior without anything that requires, a change in my thinking to manifest for me, because it's they have to accept it, and they don't even know I'm praying for them.
Apply to the grandfather, the granddaughter.
Okay, my granddaughter, I haven't seen since, she was 7, she's now 13. I not only saw her once because I found her where she was going to school. Her mother hasn't let her see me since she was 4, when my son died. So if I did this with my granddaughter, it would visualize me seeing her again.
Okay, that's enough. There's no difference in that experience than with Carolyn. Example. You remember when we were talking about, we shared Carolyn's situation?
Yeah, she took an action, but she went over there to talk to them.
No. She did something first.
Yep.
She did this.
Yep.
But she was led to take an action. There was an estrangement between her sister, younger sister, and there was more than one sister in the family. They hadn't spoken. There was no communication for a long time. She started practicing this, and then she said she suddenly heard a thought in her mind: Carolyn, get dressed and go. And she went. She just followed and obeyed. And when she went to her sister, at first she was hesitant. And something happened. She went through a transformation, welcomed her in, they embraced it. And then after that meeting, all the 3 sisters and more were talking, and they were a harmonious family. And she didn't give every little detail along the way, and I'm not telling the whole story. Only say that enough to say that the answer to because in there was a question, you just do this,
Right.
and you don't worry. You're not concerned about how this happens, because the answer is yes. Other people's minds are worked on, but you're not doing anything to manipulate it or direct it or whatever. It's just that's just God's way. I mean, God is in the mix. You don't know, and then. If it is to be that you don't communicate, that could be the answer too. I don't know that. Everything is not going to, but you don't have that thought in your mind. The point is that we just don't know how this thing works, when it works. Just do it and see what happens. Yes, it does, and it is working on the minds of others. And then remember what happened in the testimony the next week of the letter that the person wrote about what happened to him and his son. Do you see? So, same thing. Yes, it's working on somebody else's mind, but you're not doing it. You have a desire of harmony, peace, reconciliation, and whatever. But you don't know what form this is going to take. You don't know how it's going to show up in the end. Everybody's situation works out differently. So the answer is do it. In the pass out, you had a page 1 and a page 2 that you received today, which was a repeat of what you were given a couple weeks ago or so. It says, recall at least 3 problems that have occurred in the past in your life. Does it say that?
Yes.
Okay. Now what are we going to do with this? We're going to use this as an example to help you stay in that I was part of this prayer. You have the I remember when, and now, and I was. Did you follow that? So this is going to help you practice to stay in that I was portion. It says, number one, it says, recall a difficult health challenge you have experienced in the past. All right, let's stop there and just meditate. Now, you don't have to share it, but when something comes to your mind, I just want to see, just raise your hand. I'm not going to ask you to share it. Can you recall in the past you've had a difficult health challenge and now the problem is healed or it's no longer a problem in your life? Kind of think about it. I see most people in here have gray hair.
What that mean?
What does that mean? That means that you're an exception and there's one person in here who this doesn't apply to. Are you thinking about it? I need you to think about it for a reason. Are you recalling it? Okay, but it no longer bothers you. Now, number one, it could be 100%, 360 degrees of healed and gone away, or it could be there, but it just no longer bothers you. It's not a concern. You know that you can live with it for the rest of your life and it ain't gonna kill you. One or the other, or it's just completely gone. That means it's healed. Are you recalling it?
Yes.
Okay, that's one. Then the second one. Recall a hurtful or regretful memory that involved you personally. It's a personal experience or family problem, a business relationship, a business matter, but it hurt. And you carried memories about it for a long time. But you know what? That problem is healed, resolved. May still exist, but guess what? Don't bother me no more. I can go to my grave and it won't affect me anymore, and certainly it will not take me to my grave. Now, I just want you to raise your hand if you had one of those in your life. You don't have to share it. Now, I've asked you, let me clarify what I said. Number one, number two, and then the next one too. What I said was this. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand again after I ask this again. I said, recall a hurtful, or regretful memory that you were involved in. Personal, between you and somebody else. Family, business relationship, or whatever. That's the first part. The second part is this. But it has been healed. It no longer bothers you. It is no longer an issue. You don't address it anymore. It's gone. Now raise your hand. It's got to be healed. Not that you've had the problem. That's not my question. I'm not asking the question, have you been hurt? I'm saying you let it go. It doesn't bother you anymore. You go to your grave. It'll never, so you got one in the first category and one in this category. Now the third instance, recall. Any other, you talk about it, you're talking about it from testimony. You're talking about it, I've been through that. And this is what happened. But I was sick. I was in the hospital. I was, getting up, taking medicine for this. I was unemployed because of that. I was. See, that's how I was. It happened, and now it's in the past. I was. So, whatever you're working on now as a desire, as an aspiration, you got to get into the I was with it now. You got to get into the I was. It's already I was. So you go back, you go back to, if it's a problem now, I was. I remember when I did have a challenge getting out of the bed. I remember when I remember when I didn't have enough money to pay my bills. Now, the reality side of it, maybe you don't. But you got to shift in the next second. I remember when I couldn't and didn't. So if you remember that you didn't have it, that means that you do have it now. If you remember that are you following me?
Yeah.
So that's the I was. So then we got to the next part. Oh, the hurtful situation, the memory of the past. Are you holding one of those up? A memory of the past and a negative situation in a relationship. Okay. I remember when you didn't speak to that person because of what that person said or did. But now you do or you don't, and it doesn't bother you anymore. It's no longer an issue. Then I was in that situation. That's an I was. So if you have a situation like that today in a personal relationship, the situation, I remember when my daughter-in-law would not let me see my grandchild. Is that the situation?
Yeah.
So then what you have to do here is shift. Remember, the point is here is to recall a situation in your past where something similar happened like that in a personal relationship. And now with that, when that thing comes to your mind, you're in the I was of it now. So how do you feel now in the I was of that situation? You carry that over into the feeling now of the I was in dealing with your granddaughter. I was. It's I was now. Now, your staying in the I was means that doesn't exist anymore. Now you have a healed relationship with that daughter-in-law. Now that can take the form of y'all not sleeping together. She's not in your bedroom sleeping. You're not visiting. You're not traveling to see each other. That healed relationship does not he's not sitting together at Thanksgiving, you know. All of that is not there. But something has happened in her mind that now she allows a visitation. You don't have to have a healed situation, a kumbaya, and everybody. No. But that can come out of it. Healed on the level that she lets you see her, but she don't have to. She might say, I don't want to see you, but you can see each other. Doesn't that happen?
Yes.
That happens. You don't know what form this will take. You just stay in an I was in an estrangement state of mind, but now, and now. So you stay in the and now and the I was. That's out of the top part. That's what you're remembering. And that's a spiritual thing, that's a mind thing, that's a thinking thing. You stay there,